Howdy, partners. This is Ryan from the library, presented by Classic Buffalo. This is episode 10. We made it to the double digits. Insert applause noise. This week, I'm talking with a friend that I basically grew up with. First time kind of doing someone with as much history as me and Kyle do, that's his name, Kyle. So Kyle and I are catching up. We're talking about some really interesting stuff growing up with mental health. We're going to talk about CBD for the first time, and we're going to talk about how the little things can go quite a long way. So for the 10th episode, I'm really happy to be presenting to you this episode, this conversation between me and Kyle. Also, side note, I turned down your volume just for the first couple of minutes. We had some difficulties recording, and so Kyle's a little bit louder, and I don't know how to edit the volume to go a little bit lower, so just kind of be cognizant of that, just at least for the initial first few minutes of the episode. So, all right, let's get to it. All right, what's up, my friend Kyle? How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm still alive, and you sound like you're in a closet, but that'll do.
Yeah, I'm down in the basement right now. So we'll see how well this works.
See if you can make it a little less closer to your mouth.
Okay. How about now?
That's perfect.
Okay.
You nailed it. Okay. So you're in Chicago, right?
Yeah, northwest suburbs. So.
Ooh, are you already becoming a Cubs fan?
Absolutely not. I'm a Reds fan till I die. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kyle, you're the first person. You're actually, first of all, you're on episode 10, so you are the first double-digit person. So congrats.
Oh, sweet.
2, you're the first person that I've interviewed that I actually knew before.
Okay.
So double congratulations. So we have a history.
Awesome. Yeah, glad to be on.
All right, so Kyle, you are a Bengals and a Reds fan, but then you're also a Suns and an Arizona Wildcats fan. How did you get split like that?
So essentially, I was born in Tucson. My dad used to be a Division I college swim coach for a pretty long time. And then after Arizona, he took the job at Illinois. And then from there, we went to Michigan State. And he ended up getting sick and needing to step away from coaching and went into insurance. And that's what took us to Westfield, a.k.a. Indianapolis. And then that's also what took us up to Chicago.
Wow. Okay. Man, so a lot of your teams just kind of, well, how did the Cincinnati thing happen?
My dad grew up right outside Cincinnati in northern Kentucky, so that's kind of how that worked. And my mom grew up in Iowa, and they don't really have pro sports. I don't know who they really cheer for when it comes to pro sports. So
yeah, that's kind of the same thing as me though, because my dad's from Boston. So that's why I'm a Patriots fan, I'm a Red Sox fan, and then I grew up in Florida, so I'm a Gators fan, I'm a Miami Heat fan. So it's like half my teams are from my dad and half of them are just from where I grew up. I remember you having like an Illinois piece or a Michigan State shirt or sweater or whatever. So you mostly root for Arizona though, right? Yes.
Yeah, Arizona and Michigan State, yeah.
Okay.
And then my dad's a Tennessee grad, so I'll kind of root for them as well. So.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. So let's do timeline. So you're born in 93 or 94?
93.
Okay. So you're born there. So you're born in Tucson. How long were you in Tucson for?
We were only there for a couple of months. My dad was looking to step up and was looking for more as a coach, and he was an assistant at Arizona, and the head job at Illinois opened up, and that's what kind of took us there. And I'm not saying Tucson's a bad town because it's a college town, but my parents wanted maybe a better place to raise me, so we moved to Champaign.
Okay. So how old were you when you moved to Illinois?
Well, I was, I think, like 4 months old, maybe.
Okay, so you don't remember. Okay. So like where were you like when you're like 4, 5, 6? Where were you at?
So essentially, from a couple months old till 7, we were in Champaign.
Okay. So you have some memories from Champaign. Those are kind of some of your first memories.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Did you like it? Do you have any like what were like some of your first memories? I'm curious.
Well, I can tell you the first thing I ever remember in my entire life, we were at Disneyland or Disney World. I don't remember which one it was, but we went into the Sleeping Beauty Castle and what's her name? Maleficent? I can't even pronounce.
Maleficent.
Yeah, that one. I saw her on a screen and it like scared the crap out of me. But yeah,
First
I
memory,
don't know.
great memory.
I know some of the best memories I had were just going to my dad's practices growing up when he would take me to work with him, and I remember, excuse me, I remember seeing Chief Alinawek dance at halftime of the basketball games. Those were hands down some of my favorite memories growing up.
Yeah. I think your mouse is still a little bit closer or too close.
Oh, my bad.
You're good. Like right there is good. But so why didn't you get into swimming? Because your dad was in swimming, right? That's what he coached. So why didn't you get into swimming?
Pardon me if I cough at all. I have a slight cold, but so he tried to get me into swimming, and swimming wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
So I there was one time I was really young, and he got me. I don't think this is when I had a real golf set yet, but I had like these little like Snoopy plastic golf set that he would just like let me go in the backyard and hit golf balls around. And he left me outside for a little bit, and he came back out, and I'm just swinging away, and my hands are bleeding and covered in blisters because I just kept swinging and swinging.
Man, did you ever do golf? And because like golf, sometimes some schools have golfing, some don't. Like, did you do?
Yeah.
I don't remember if you did golf in middle school or high school.
Yeah, so I was on the 8th grade team when we were in 8th grade, like right after I moved, and that was kind of cool because when I moved to Westfield, obviously, I don't remember meeting you in 8th grade because I was still meeting people.
Yeah.
But that was a great way for me to make some friends. And then freshman year I played, but then sophomore year was when I was on the soccer team, and then I started doing club soccer, and that was all year round. So didn't really have time for golf except for leisure play.
Yeah. Do you remember how we met? I don't.
I'm wondering.
Was it through basketball?
I want to say it was either Student Impact because I was friends with Cooey, or if it was maybe freshman gym. I don't remember. If you were in the class with Jordan Miller, I'm guessing, because that's how I met Jordan.
So for those at home, Cooey was my best friend for like a long time. So Jordan Cooey, we played basketball stuff. So Jordan, we'll call him Cooey. So Cooey knew me and Kyle. And then Jordan Miller was friends with me and Kyle. So Jordan Miller was, and me and Kyle hung out more so with Jordan Miller towards the end of high school than we did with Cooey. I don't know if you hung out with Cooey, but I hung out more with Jordan Miller and you towards the end of high school.
Yeah, I'd hang out with Jordan like at the lunch table, but funny enough, his cousin Robert Draper, Robert and I laugh about this all the time. It was a couple of years ago, Robert and I started hanging out through Casey Wright, and now Robert and I are like best friends, and I like never see Cooey. So it's just kind of funny how things play out.
You just start out one way, and then next thing you know, I don't even see him anymore. I hung out with life is weird like that sometimes. Yeah. So let's think here. So you got into Westfield in 8th grade. Was that right? Did I do the math?
Yeah, it was halfway through 8th grade. We moved from Michigan to Westfield.
Okay. So I got there at 7th grade. So I was just a year before you. I was in 2006. So I grew up in Florida. I can't remember if you knew any of this stuff, but I grew up in Florida until 2006. So right after 6th grade, right before 7th grade, I went up to Indy. So,
Yeah.
my mom's from Seymour, which is like southern Indiana. So,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I remember you were talking about that, and I remember you were a Florida fan. Then I remember when you had that the mixtape, and you
oh,
what was the you had the name based on
Jensen.
that city. Yeah, you had it based on that's a city in Florida, right?
I love that you are throwing me under the bus on the podcast of my rap career. I've tried so hard to bury.
Yeah.
Jensen. Yeah, that was when I named it Jensen because I'm
Yeah.
from Jensen Beach.
Yeah, I remember you and I like senior year, we were all about like the 116 and like we would like jam to it in the hallways and in A
Yeah.
Strike's classroom. And A Strike A Strike was like, it's not real rap if they can't swear in it.
So 116 is like a Christian rap group that Kyle and I used to listen to, and yeah, we ever go to a concert of theirs?
Not together. I've been
I've
to a
been to their stuff separately, but
yeah, not together. Let's see. I went to Winter Jam a couple years ago where Tadashi and KB actually played. Tadashi was walking down the hallway. I didn't say hello to him, but I got a picture with KB, which was like a really cool experience.
yeah.
Because some of his songs have helped me through some hardships.
So you saw a bunch of the members at different types of like concerts and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah. Well, are those kind of the most famous people you've ever met? You would say?
Um, Freshman year of high school at the Michigan Notre Dame game, my dad took us around the campus and we went into the basketball arena at Notre Dame. And Dick Vitale was
Whoa.
around and, being a freshman in high school and growing up loving basketball, especially college basketball, I was like, oh my gosh, Dick Vitale. And my dad was like, hey, Mr. Vitale, can my sons just get a quick picture with you? And that's it. So we got a quick picture with Dick Vitale, and it's probably one of my earliest Facebook pictures. So if you go back far enough, you can find it. But it's me, my brother, and Dick Vitale.
So, in both scenarios, do you think, like, were you completely starstruck, or were you like, what were you surprised about? Or did they seem like gods? Did they seem like, wow, they're actually like real people? Or, what were your interactions with both, like kind of the people from the rap group and then Dick Vitale?
Well, besides the rap group and Dick Vitale, also a lot of my favorite DJs I met, except for my favorite, I have not met him. But the one that I was most I did meet Eric Thomas once at the Phoenix, was it the Phoenix airport? But it was the time I met Eric Thomas, who, for those of you who are listening that don't know who Eric Thomas is, he's called E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. He's from Detroit. He's like a motivational speaker. But him and KB were the two times that I was very like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what to say or do. Dick Vitale was like, holy crap, this is really cool. It didn't like, I wouldn't say it didn't like hit me because I knew who he was, obviously.
Yeah.
But then ever since meeting KB and Eric Thomas, it was pretty easy. I know first time I met Lecrae, I was a little shaky. So I was like, holy crap, like it's Lecrae. Like he started 116, and then last time I saw Lecrae, he did a tour with Andy Mineo, and you got to get a picture with them and talk with them for a quick second beforehand as well. But other than that, for the most part now, I've come to realize that, even though they're big names and what they do, that they're just regular people like us, and it doesn't really bother me too much anymore.
Wow. Yeah, my when I met Social Club, which Social Club's kind of in the same realm of where I was in Florida, and I grew up in Indy, and like in I think like high school, I listened to them separately as artists, and then they came together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just was like, it was one of my favorite bands other than the 116 kind of group of rappers and stuff. And then when I went down to Florida after college, they had a concert down in Florida because they tour like and on the West Coast and then like Florida, like they don't tour in the Midwest really.
Yeah.
So I like had a chance to go down and see them, and then like they did a meet and greet, and I just like I lost it. I it just was, you know, it was nuts.
Yeah.
But then Vintage Indie happened, and like I just would comment on some of their posts and stuff, and they were doing a show in Evansville,
Oh, cool.
and it's 3 hours away. And I hadn't gone down there yet for my Goodwill hunting trip, where I'm going to every Goodwill in the entire state. So I'm like, I'm going down there. I want to time it around the time the concert's there. And I just DM'd them like, I'm going to bring all my stuff. I want to like meet you guys. And they're like, yeah, we'll get you a backstage pass or whatever. And at the same time, so I did all those stores. And then I got interviewed by Evansville's like Fox 59 or like Fox station.
Oh, wow.
And so then that night was the concert. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be backstage just with all the other people who paid for it. So they're like, just come around the corner and like just hop on the bus. And I'm like, oh, that's just where everybody is. Nope. It was just me and them. and they go, yeah, we just wanted to hang out with you. And so I'm like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
Like, and dude, I just almost had like a panic attack because they bought like a couple $100 worth of stuff. They asked about me. They like shouted me out. I got their phone numbers. Like it just, dude, it is freaking nuts, man. Like, and it just like, oh God, to meet your idols.
Yeah, I saw them. They were up here.
They go to Chicago sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, when were they up here? I bought
Recently.
a windbreaker, like a tour windbreaker. They were up here on my birthday. I missed that show, and they were like 5 minutes from where we're staying, roughly.
Yeah.
They were like in Chicago, at a church. When the heck was it? I think it was not this past spring, so maybe like a year and a half ago was when I saw them. But they were awesome. But it was a vastly Hispanic church. So like when they would start rapping in Spanish, I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, but
right. Sounds good.
Tickets were like $10, so I was like, shoot, I'll go.
Yeah. So let's talk about music and the power of kind of, because I can kind of tell / you had alluded to the importance of music in your life and stuff.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that kind of ways that either specific artists or just the way music has impacted you.
Well, oh my gosh, that is a giant spider. Sorry, I was just standing right here and a giant spider just walked past my head on the wall. I'm gonna stay away from it and kill it after we're done with this. But anyway, yeah, I grew up. My parents played all kinds of music except for like heavy, like death metal, all that crap. I grew up with pretty much every kind of genre of music for the most part growing up. And they didn't play any really hip hop. I kind of got into that in like middle school and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But music has always been such a big part of my life. And it really, Bob Marley said it and then Drake said it. They said, when music hits you, you feel no pain. And that makes a lot of sense, but also like music can bring up a lot of pain and a lot of like bad thoughts, but it's also kind of like a healing mechanism. And essentially, I realized like in 8th grade when I was moving, like I was really sad about moving to Indiana, obviously, like leaving my friends and stuff like that. Music, like just listening to music on the car ride down to Indianapolis, that was kind of a healing process. And just ever since then, music has been kind of an outlet for me. I've tried writing. I actually thought about like, writing raps my own. And in our move back up to Illinois, up around Chicago, I lost my notebook that had stuff written, but I can always go back and write again. But I just think that, music is an art, and some people use art to express themselves and use it as a way to heal people. And I know from personal experiences, music has helped me in some like really dark times. And it to me, it can help heal people and bring people out of their worst and bring them to their best. And it's just, to me, what I find cool is like, I find it that besides like Jesus, it's God's greatest gift to earth due to the fact that it's something that evokes emotion out of people, that it can help give them an escape from dark places that they're in.
Yeah, that's good. I feel the same way. It can be used like both in a positive and a bad way, like just depending on what you want to listen to. Just there's a song that I really like. It's called "Weightless" by Marconi Union. It's scientifically the most relaxing song like ever. And there's like a 10-hour version on YouTube, and it would help me go to sleep. And what it does is there's so many random sounds that they play that your brain is trying to like keep track of where the song is going, which contributes to why we would like it or whatever. But there's so many random sounds that your brain can't keep up, so it shuts down. And so that's what makes you like not necessarily tired, but it relaxes you because your brain's like, all right, I can't follow this.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I use it to like I play it to go to sleep, and then I kind of leave it on or whatever, and I have a little timer that turns it off like after a couple hours.
Yeah,
highly recommend. But at the same time, you know, like Andy Mineo. So I still follow. I don't really listen to a lot of Christian music anymore, but like Andy Mineo, he has a song. Oh my God, what's it called? It just came out. The one where he's in. It's like pixelated music video. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he dropped a mixtape recently, actually.
Yeah, like work in progress. Kind of.
Yeah, because there's a whole podcast which I actually need.
I don't need you. I don't need you. That's what the song. I don't need you.
Is that the one about his dad?
It's like half the song is like I don't need you, no, I don't need you, no, and he's talking about not needing. Yeah, so he's talking about not needing anyone and like building up all these walls and like what else is he supposed to say when everybody leaves you, like and then like the second half is like his cry towards the people that are closest to him, of like, God, I got to pull up the lyrics, dude, because it was just so beautiful, man. Because I was like, I literally just want to send this song to everybody who like is around my circle, because I struggle to advocate for myself sometimes, of just like I need to talk to you when, or so, like I need you to talk to me gentle. Like I have a like don't humble me because I have a tough enough time loving me. Like just I was like, oh my. So like that's one of my favorite songs recently, is just the dichotomy of like, we put up all these walls and we say, oh, I don't need you. And but we have all these coping skills and we have all these like reactions to things because it protects us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know.
It doesn't, you know.
I wasn't really into EDM in high school because like it wasn't as big as it is now, obviously. And I started getting into it, and probably in the last 4 years, I really started getting into it. And I know those shows for me, like I can go to those completely sober, and like I can feel the music, and that's what's different. Like my favorite DJ, his name's Millennium. He actually just had a song with the Chainsmokers that came out recently on his album. That was kind of a radio hit, but I've seen some of the different songs from the album being played on like some college football. I think this past Sunday, during the commercial breaks for the Raiders and Chiefs games, one of the drops from one of his songs was playing when they cut to commercial. But like his group per se, their kind of group that they make music, they call themselves the Sad Boys because it is very like emotional music, and some of the lyrics in the songs, it's very I don't know, like I hear the lyrics and they have a deep rooted meaning because, well, Lenium, he actually used to be like a hardcore drug addict, and he finally overdosed one more time, and he's like, all right, like I can't do this anymore, and he's like, I need to put this energy and money and time that I'm using in drugs into something that can help people. And some of his music has helped me through anxiety and depression and stuff like that. And that's why I say it's just like shows and festivals for me, it's amazing. Like even from a sober mind, I know some people, especially in EDM, a lot of people like will do drugs beforehand. I don't necessarily condone it, but I mean, people are going to do it anyway. Um, but to me, just going there and like hearing the lyrics and then feeling the bass hit me and like just feeling the music, it's so empowering. It and doesn't matter what mood I'm in, it can help like lift me up and um, just gives me a better outlook on the day.
Yeah, that's good. So, uh, what are your thoughts on mental health today? Like as we stand as a whole. You know,
Um, I definitely think that we do have a big problem, and I'm glad it is being looked at. And for the longest time, I didn't realize I was dealing with some of that stuff because, people are, we like to be in control and we like to, we all have an ego, and sometimes we don't like to have it checked no matter what we're going through. And we're just like, hey, like I can push through this myself. Like I don't need anybody's help, no matter how many like cries for help we give. But then also, um, if someone tries to give us any kind of advice or anything, we might try to shut it down. Um, and I definitely think it's good that we are starting to see a push of, this generation, a push of people trying to help see what we can do to help people with mental health and stuff like that. Because I myself, I've dealt with depression and anxiety and stuff like that. And, I've been up in the Chicago area for almost 2.5 years now. And I know um, in Indiana, I deal with some depression and stuff like that. Not really a lot of anxiety, but I did start having issues with sleeping and like night terrors and stuff. But once I moved here, it became more and more prevalent. And then it became like a whole, like, holy crap, like I realize now, like I do have anxiety and stuff like that.
yeah. Are you able to like pinpoint what are some of the causes of it, or are you more like kind of still just, where are you at with it? Are you like,
It's starting to get much better. Um, I'm starting to sleep better now, which is great. I know there was a time I was kind of struggling with my faith, and I'm getting back to it. That was I started noticing when I started to drift away. That's when the problems would start to become can't amplified. I guess is the word I'm looking for. I think,
mm-hmm.
and so I started noticing that, and then I was dating a girl for a few months while I was up here last year, and it was I don't want to like throw any shade at her or anything. It was just a very toxic relationship, and a lot of fighting going on, and that kind of when the breakup happened, it kind of essentially broke me as a person because it was a buildup of all this just toxic stuff going on and
Yeah.
trying to push through it because you care about somebody. And that was like killing me inside because I was trying to push through it for her sake, trying to help her with stuff that she had been going through and stuff that I had been going through and trying to push through it for the relationship. And the breakup, it was a relief that, like the fighting might not be there, but it still kind of like broke me as a person because it's like you give so much energy towards that.
Yeah.
And so I will say I did do some sleep studies, and that didn't the doctors couldn't pinpoint anything, and I'm like, well, I don't understand why I'm not sleeping and stuff like that. Like there were times I would in like a week span I would get maybe like 15 hours of sleep, and I would just like drive my like no matter what I could do, trying to going to bed earlier, I just wasn't sleeping, and it was going insane. And I know something that's helped. I've seen a lot of people talk about CBD when it comes to anxiety. So I went to a shop that had these gummies, and as soon as I left the shop, it's just strictly CBD. There's no THC in it or anything, and as soon as, like, within an hour of me eating one of the gummies, I naturally felt good. And I've continued just to take them like a daily vitamin,
Yeah.
and it's, obviously it's not like a cure-all thing where it's like, oh, you take this, like, boom, your anxiety's all gone. But I will say it's definitely helped a lot, and I'm starting to naturally feel more like myself again, just a more positive person. Um, and also, like, there were a couple times. There was one time today I was talking. If you remember Blake Meyer,
Yep.
I was on the phone with him. We were talking about my actual own podcast that I was doing a couple years ago. That Ryan, I remember you helped me with a little bit when I was just getting
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
Um, but we were talking about it today, and I'm wanting to move it to Twitch and stuff like that, and possibly do like audio recordings like you do with the Anchor app. Um, and just trying to figure out like what all I want to do with it and stuff like that. When I got off the phone with him, I started having like a little, not like an anxiety attack, kind of like a fit, like kind of stressing myself out.
Mm.
And luckily with the CBD, and it, helping calm me down, I'm realizing it's like, hey, like where I want to be in 5 years, I can't get to that point tomorrow. Like, take a deep breath, take it day by day, step by step. So that's been a lot of help. But there were a couple times even in the last months that I'd be out with friends, and there would be just a multitude of things would build up throughout life and work and other stuff like that, and it would build up, and I would just like have a meltdown, and my friends would look at me and they're like, we don't know what to do right now. Like we don't know what to say or do to help
Yeah.
him.
Right.
And I'd just be and like I'd lash out like them. It's almost like kind of like in a Lord of the Rings when like Frodo would lash out with Sam when he had been carrying the ring too long, excuse me. He'd be carrying the ring too long, and it was like kind of like I had one of those moments where like I'd lash out, and I'm like, have to step back, and it's like after I cool down, it's like that's not me. Like that's this, you know, hypothetical monkey on my back that, is causing these issues.
Yeah. A lot of times, depression and anxiety does feel like that just thing that you're lugging around. Just this weight of, and it affects your relationships.
Yeah.
It's like depression can just be this giant weight, and then you don't reach out to other people to hang out, and you spend more time alone. And even as an introvert, I feel like as an introvert, it's a little bit even worse because like you depend so much on the little friendships that you have.
Yeah.
Whereas an extrovert, you kind of have a numbers game. Like you can not have interaction with some people, and then you still might have some people left over, right? Whereas
Yeah.
if you're an introvert, it's like you gotta really nail those few relationships, and if you avoid those, it could get worse. I don't know. That's just my own observation, but you know, it is harder sometimes because we have to learn how to uh, correctly release that monkey, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
so it doesn't become King Kong, and other people get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just kind of like, but like still up to that point a couple months ago before I was even I've only been using CBD for about a month, and the last month for the most part has been great. Um, but
So you would
it helped a
recommend
lot.
CBD oil or gummies? You
Yeah,
would recommend it?
yeah, yeah. I use these gummies. I got it from a vape shop. I went into, and I asked the guy because I saw they had CBD, and I went in and I was like, "Hey man, like what can you tell me about CBD?" And he told me about all this, and so yeah, I know a lot of people give animals, their pets, CBD for like anxiety during thunderstorms. So I was like, obviously the chemical makeup of our bodies are different from animals to humans, but I've seen a lot of testimonials, and a friend of mine who's a certified dietitian, he's like, yeah, dude, I recommend it, and stuff like that. So I was like, the worst I can, the worst it can be is I just spent like $10 on four gummies. Like that's,
Yeah.
if I lose money off of that, it's only $10, and I gave it a shot to see if this would help at all.
So is that you're not on any other medication? You're just taking CBD?
Nope, no medication.
Are you doing counseling?
Um, excuse me. No, not really. And it's just because I did do a little counseling after high school, like that fall of freshman year of college,
Uh huh.
and part of that was because I made a couple bad decisions and got in a little bit of trouble, just being a dumb, teenager, um, like most of us are. And so I did that, and she, anytime I go up to Muncie, up to Ball State to visit Zach Schaefer, he actually introduced me to a girl I dated that year. And anytime I meet with the counselor and say, "Oh, I'm going up to Ball State to visit my then girlfriend," she'd be like, "Oh, don't go up there partying and doing a bunch of dumb stuff," and like trying to essentially like make me feel like crap. And I'm like,
Whoa.
Aren't you supposed to be helping me, not necessarily like saying all this negative stuff?" So I don't know, because of that. I'm not saying all counselors are like that, obviously, but it's just kind of, that was a really negative experience that I had, that I'm like, do I really want to pay money to go
Mm-hmm.
see someone who could possibly just like crap down my throat like that?
Oh yeah. I wouldn't do
Yeah,
that. I've
yeah.
gone through so many counselors, and I go to counseling once a week. And I met it was actually my former hall director,
Hmm.
and he quit doing it so he could pursue kind of being a counselor. And he's a phenomenal counselor. He's
That's
like,
really cool.
yeah, and I've had so many terrible ones because I got the free ones at Taylor, and they
Oh
would every
gosh.
single time I would go, it was always like, well, Ryan, I don't know what to tell you. You keep doing the same things and expecting different results. And it just
Yeah.
was frustrating because I got shamed into the fact that I didn't want to change, or I didn't know, like, whereas this one guy, he's just like, I'm really sorry, like, you're going through that, or like, it just, it's finally in a place where I could literally say anything, and like, he has my side,
Yeah.
or he's just like, well, okay, I hear what you're saying, like, what do you think about this? But for the most part, he almost never gives advice unless I ask for it. But even then, he's kind of like, I don't really want to. He's like, I kind of want to just give space for how you feel. It's good and bad sometimes. It's not necessarily like bad. It's just sometimes I
Mhm.
do want advice, but other times,
Yeah.
I think a lot of times in my own progress, it's been like my inability to feel that has been the problem, and so he wants to
Yeah.
create space for that because I haven't, and less like a practical, you know, you need to do this, you need to do that, especially when your parents, or you already have people telling you. Like, that's like the
Mhm.
worst thing you can do is give people advice when they don't ask for it.
Yeah. And
When you're
sometimes people have different approaches. Like some
right.
people see the tough love approach as the way to go, which sometimes that is the right approach. But sometimes when you continue for multiple people to get the tough love approach, you start to block that out and you don't listen to it anymore because you keep hearing it from a lot of people, and you don't want to hear it because you realize, like, at that time, that situation you could be in, that's not going to work. You need someone just to be a shoulder you can cry on or hang on and just like
Yeah.
vent to, and then just be a calm, a calm person that you can go to during your storms in life, that they're not going to sit there and, try and give you constructive criticism with what you're doing. And it's almost like they're just there to give you a hug, tell you, you're going to make it through this. They just give you positive affirmation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talk about something that like other people have done for you that you were like, oh, when I was down and out, that was a really good thing that they did.
Mhm. I know um, my last kind of incident, it was over Labor Day weekend. I was hanging out with friends, and uh, one of my friends, his girlfriend, had brought it up, and it became like, it turned into a 3 hour ordeal where there was a lot of yelling going on because I didn't want to like talk about it anymore, and it was just a lot of yelling. And when I started hanging out with Robert Draper, I barely knew him, and he was going through a really rough patch, right? And he's like, dude, you didn't even know me then. And you literally said to me, he's like, dude, from what I've heard, you're a really good dude. Like, you're going to make it through this. I don't know how, but you're going to make it through this and you're going to be better than ever. And turn around like 3 to 4 years later, he's at like one of the best points in his life. He's in a fantastic relationship with his girlfriend, Lauren, who I love to death. She's awesome. He just got out of that space, and it was in that moment. We were driving back to their apartment because I was so heated. Nobody wanted me driving back to their place, so they're like, "Just leave your car here. We'll pick it up in the morning." I'm like, because at first when the situation was going on, I wanted to walk out, get in my car, and leave, and everyone was like, "No, no, no, we're not going to let you drive." I was like, "All right, whatever, fine." So I went outside for a little while after the ordeal was done and kind of blew off steam, just kind of vented to myself and was walking around. But we drove back to Robert and Lauren's apartment, and he essentially said the same thing to me. He's like, "Dude, you don't understand. Like, we barely knew each other. And what you said to me 4 years ago completely changed my life. And we didn't even know each other that well." And he's like, "If I can make it out from that, hearing that from you then before we were brothers now, like, you're going to make it through this." And that was a key thing for me most recently. But it's just, there's been times when I've had different times where I've just like broken down. And there was times I was going through a bad breakup a few years ago, and I was hanging out with Jordan Miller, and I was going through that breakup, and we had some stuff going on in the friend group, and um, Jordan had a kind of emotional moment, and he's like, "Dude, I don't get it. Like, you take so much crap from people, and you just always are just like the sun in their cloudy day." And he's like, "You have like one of the biggest hearts I know." And he's like, "I don't care what I'm going through in life. If you're ever going through something bad, I'm always here for you no matter what." And it's just, sometimes when we're dealing with our own things, and I've always been someone to kind of like put others before myself, and kind of, I have a big heart and I wear it on my sleeve, and I try to care for others, sometimes before myself. And it's kind of, sometimes it's worn me down. And just to hear that when I was going through a rough time, but I wasn't trying to show it to everyone, um, that was just a really big thing to me. But it's just been throughout the years, different things that people have said to me, that whether or not they've known I was going through something, that I was going through something, and just to hear them say such like a genuine, like truly genuine thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something like, "Oh, Kyle, you're such a nice guy." Like, it's something when they're at a bad point and they say something like that, it's just kind of like, wow, like, people do care
Yeah.
about you. People do want you to be in a good place.
So it sounds like a little goes a long way.
Yeah.
A genuine comment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I said, it's not kind of like the typical like, "Oh, you're such a nice person and you're gonna make it through this." It's one of those where, like, this is coming deep, like from a very, very deep, deep place down in their heart, that when they
Right.
say that, it's like, that's something that happened 4 years ago, what Jordan said to me, and I still remember that like verbatim, word for word, because it was such like an impacting thing on me.
Yeah, man. It's dude, I remember so I was in Florida, and like, the only way I was able to meet people was by Pokemon Go. So I'm in a freaking park. And there's people. I know. You can laugh a little bit about it.
I still play it here and there, so.
Yeah. So I'm in like 30 minutes away in like some park that's supposed to have good Pokemon in it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these kids. Like, and I'm by myself. It's like, I'd rather be out doing this than be at home, like, by myself. So, like, I'm out and about, and there's these kids. And I don't know, somehow I got into a conversation, and we sat down and talked or whatever, and was like, "Oh, what team are you on?" Because everybody had, like, I'm on team red or yellow or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so we just started talking about Pokemon or whatever. And then I talked about how, I don't know, just something about rapping, or I can't remember what it was, but one of the kids, I don't know, just a lull in conversation, and the kid like says, "Man, I think I'm going to take this post down." It only got like 200 or 300 likes, and I'm like, "Are you serious?"
200 or 300. Oh my gosh.
And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, I mean, it's not getting a lot of likes. I don't know, something like that." And I was like, "How many followers do you have?" And he said like 8 or 10,000.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And I said, I just was like, "How many followers do you think I have?" And he's like, "I don't know, 2 or 3,000." And I was like 30, or I was like 300.
Yeah.
And dude, and I said the most baller thing. I was just like, "Do you think you're more important than me? Because you have more followers than me." And it's this freaking 14, like 15-year-old kid. And their friends were like, "Ooh." And because it was like the most baller thing. And I just like, "Your Instagram followers don't mean shit."
Yeah.
And I just said like, and at the time I just went onto a gospel preach moment, but at the same time it was just like, it's this artificial thing. It's this. And I remember that then his friends kind of walked off and did stuff, but I just pulled him aside and was like, "Your value comes from God, or it comes from an internal place. It comes from you." You know, I don't want to make this essentially a religious moment, but it was a moment that I knew he almost was crying, because I was just like, it doesn't matter what other people think about you or whatever. You're valuable on this earth because it comes from an internal place, and just know that you are valuable just for being you. So I was like, but that was also like one of the most baller things I've ever said in my whole life.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, shoot, with that kid, I think I have like 900 followers, and like if I get like 30 likes on a picture, I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, I'm hype. I'm cool with that.
Did you know? Did you know that Instagram's thinking of taking away the like button? Did you know that?
Well, if they do that, how are like
exactly?
Some people like, they're like these Instagram butt models, like they're gonna have to get real jobs now. You know, those girls that they just post pictures of their butts on Instagram. They're gonna actually have to go work a job, or like go do something else.
it'll just transition. It'll be different. There'll still be comments. There'll still be they'll still be immeasurable somehow, but it's interesting. I think they already I think it was happened in Australia or something like that. I can't remember, but it's already happened somewhere. But I thought it was just interesting of the serotonin, you know, that it just generates every time. I turned my notifications off for Instagram just because I was just getting so like high from zzz, 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 you know, every time somebody would like a photo, and I'm like, I got to disconnect. Plus I'd get upset if I only got a few, right?
Yeah. I started noticing that, like, for a while, I used to post like barely like any pictures of like what I do in life. Like, I post a lot of life quotes and stuff like that. And after a while, I stopped getting likes on these pictures, and I was like, and then I do like a social study. I post like a positive quote, then like the next day post a picture of a puppy, and I get like 15 likes on the quote, but then like 60 likes on the puppy, and I'm like, obviously both are great, but like, I just posted some deep stuff. Like, what gives?
Yeah.
And so then I started, even though I'll post the quotes like on my Instagram story, my Snapchat story now. But then essentially now on Instagram, I only post pictures of like things I'm doing. So like my last post that I posted, I think it was yesterday or the day before that, was of some shows that I went to. I took a couple vacation days off of work last week, and I went to one show on Wednesday in Indy, then same thing on Thursday, then the same show I saw on Wednesday up here in Chicago on Saturday, and I posted pictures of people that I took pictures with, and then some pictures that I took during certain songs when I was recording. And then I posted a couple videos, and like those get more likes than when I post the quotes now. And I'm like, I guess I started realizing like people will see the deep quotes and they'll kind of read it and just it'll go over their head, but they like seeing people happier, I guess. So
Yeah. I think that's just kind of the interesting thing is like just the like system tailors the content that you will post.
yeah,
And that's what bothers me too is just like you should be able to post both because both are important, like you're like, oh, I have this cute puppy, but then like I also want to post this quote.
well,
and you'll post most of those you'll post less of the quotes when you get less likes than if you're to post a cute puppy, because you're not always going to want to post that cute puppy.
Yeah, because like with with Insta, if you post a video on your feed, you can see how many views you get. But if you post a picture, you can't see who all's viewed that. But then on your Instagram story, you can see who's viewed it.
Right.
So, yeah. And the other thing that I don't understand why they did it in the first place and why it hasn't been changed is like how long ago someone posted this. Like I was on my feed, I think it was yesterday, I was just scrolling through Instagram looking at different stuff, and a picture that someone posted like a week ago popped up, and I'm like, why am I seeing this now?
Oh. Yeah, it's the algorithm is kind of changing somehow. I don't really keep track of it. It's more just quality now they're going for than timeline. I guess Facebook kind of does that too now.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah,
I don't get it. There's a lot of science that goes in with it that I don't understand how they calculate it.
Yeah. So, do you have a motto, or do you have a piece of advice that you were given recently or in the past that you're like, that's a really good, that's a good quote, it's a good comment that's really helped?
Oh gosh, this is a really hard one actually. I'm trying to think.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Uh, you know, some dude said, oh my gosh, I was talking to this one guy, and you'll hear the episode when it comes out eventually, but he was saying like whether you're a left wing or right wing, we're all on the same bird.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, oh, that's so good.
I will say I did this process through my church at St. Mary Goretti in Westfield. It's called Christ Renews His Parish, and I remember this because I had a couple of spiritual things that had happened the weekend that my team gives. So to give a little synopsis of it. So like you go on the weekend, you receive the weekend from the giving team, and then you go through this like journey for 6 months where you meet with your group essentially like every Sunday evening. And for the first half of that, you all essentially give like a life story about yourself. And it's strictly everything that's said stays in that group. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like you take an oath, like what is said. But anyway, so I will say one thing: the weekend my team gave, it was really wild. I kept hearing verses about like staying on the boat, and I'm like, why do I keep hearing the same verse about staying, like, don't get off the boat, stay on the boat? I can't remember, like, what the actual verse is or any of that, but it said something like, no matter what, whatever storm comes, stay on the boat. And I sat there and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I went into adoration, which some people may not know what it is. It's like private prayer time where, for those who are Catholic, we believe, the bread becomes Jesus's body, right? And I was in the room praying because the guy whose testimonial most applied to me on my team, he was giving his speech, which I thought it was really cool. He asked me to be his prayer partner. So when he was giving his speech, I already had heard it twice. So while he's giving it, I'm in there praying, and I close my eyes, and all of a sudden I'm on this like Titanic-sized ship, and I'm like, what the heck? It was just like a really weird spiritual journey. But essentially, I talked to my dad about it, and he said that's literally, God saying, stay on the ship no matter what storms come your way. Stay the way of the passage that you're being taken in this life. Stay the passage. Don't jump off the ship. Don't take the easy way out. Fight through the storms, and you're going to come to a glorious paradise. So
stay on the boat.
Yeah, essentially, which it can go along with the mental health stuff. Like, stay the course, fight through your storms, stay on that ship at all costs. Don't take the easy way out of jumping in the water because you could drown. Stay the course, and you'll make it through to brighter days in paradise.
That's good. All right, we're gonna do. We're almost done here. We're gonna do a quick fire, sort of 5 questions, and then we're gonna do kind of an ending that's kind of fun.
Cool.
So, first one, you can be any superhero other than Batman or Superman. Who would you be?
Iron Man, 100%.
Iron Man. Okay.
I'll pick 3 actually, because these are probably my favorites: Iron Man, Black Panther, and Deadpool.
Right. I know you can relate a lot to Black Panther.
Being as my skin is white and he's black.
Yes.
And I don't live in Africa.
Yeah, I know you don't. Okay, Iron Man. I don't laugh at Africa. Oh boy. Okay, so you're gonna be Iron Man. Okay. You get to go to dinner with anybody. Who would you go to dinner with?
Oh. I'd say Frank Sinatra or Michael Jordan.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I do like Steve Carell or Will Ferrell.
Yeah. So you'd be laughing the whole time. You wouldn't eat much.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But if
I do Bill Nye, so I can chant his name. Like, Bill.
Now, since you picked a comedian, if I had to pick one comedian, I would go with Chris Farley, hands down.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. What's your favorite part of yourself?
Favorite part of myself? I would say that I'm either the goofiest and weirdest person that most people meet, that when they say that, they say you're really weird. Or I would just say how ridiculous of a person I am, because some of the things that I say sometimes people are like, nothing that it's offensive or anything. It's just me being me. And I would just say that I'm either just a ridiculous person or that I'm really goofy.
That's good. Well, as long as you like it, right?
Yeah, I embrace me being different.
Who plays you in the movie of your life?
Who plays me? Well, if I had to pick a redhead, maybe the guy who plays Ron Weasley. But
that's a good one.
If I just had to pick just any person, I think it would be cool if Ryan Reynolds or Matthew McConaughey played me. Those are kind of different, but I think that'd be cool to have them play me.
Yeah. Man, I don't even. It's like I ask these questions and I'm like, oh shoot, I don't even know what my answer would be sometimes.
Well, that's like you go into a job interview and you're prepping yourself for all the questions. Then they're like, what questions do you have? And I'm just like,
So what are you doing later?
Where do we go from here? I don't know.
It's good, man. All right, so here's the last part. You're gonna pick one person. Boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, parent, doesn't matter, and you're gonna shout them out, and you're gonna tell them how much they mean to you, / things you're grateful for because of them, all that kind of jazz. You're gonna just basically compliment shower, if you will, and you're gonna tell them that you said this, and they have to listen to the episode.
Oh my gosh, this is actually kind of hard. All right, I'm actually gonna go with Robert Draper. One, because
I knew you said that.
I told him I was going to be on here. I was talking to him last night, told him I was going to be on here, and I told him to come check it out. I was like, I have no idea when my episode's going up, but just check out the podcast.
Yeah.
I would just say, because in high school, he was in the popular crowd. I mean, you know, the people he hung out with.
Uh-huh.
He was in the popular group, and I didn't really associate with any of those guys. Didn't really ever talk to any, might have class with any of them. So, you know, I thought the same, you know, because stereotypes in high school, the popular kids are kind of, you know, jerks and whatnot. Just once I've gotten to know Robert since high school, he's one of the kindest guys I've met. He's like a brother to me. Like I go to war for him. There's many times where we've been out and he's maybe had maybe a couple too many drinks, and he's kind of mouthed off to somebody, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to take this punch for Robert because he's gonna get knocked out. But it just he's a really great guy. I consider him my brother. I don't know where I'd be at in life without him being my friend. I thank God that Casey Wright and one of our other friends had an apartment together at the time after I was going through a really bad breakup, and I go there to hang out with them, and I got to know Robert better there and just got to talk with him more. And obviously the podcast, Ryan, that you helped me start, he started it with me, and we used to have so much fun doing it. It's been a little harder since I moved, and things are obviously changing in life and stuff like that. But yeah, he's just a really great guy. Like I said, I don't know where I would be at in life if he wasn't here and if I never became friends with him.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
Well, you did a great job. I'm proud of you as a friend, a colleague, a scholar, as a mentor, as a human, as any other random nouns. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. It means a lot for you to be on the podcast and to support what I'm doing, and to try and make people feel less alone by sharing everyday people's stories and stuff. So. Yeah,
like I'm really glad you asked me to be on here. It's great to catch up and see how you're doing. And obviously I've seen you with the vintage indie stuff. Doing really great with that. There's been one or two things I think I've gotten from you on there. You got me an Arizona bucket hat, and then I think there was a Phoenix Suns mug.
Yes.
That I think I got. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I remember
so
that.
It's you have really great stuff on there, and it's really cool. I mean, some of the stuff isn't necessarily my style, but it's just kind of, to me, what's wild through the Instagram for Vintage Indie, it's kind of wild to see like kind of hidden gems you can find when you're not looking for it, or you are looking for it just by going through a thrift shop. So, and so far from what I've heard, as of right now that we're recording this episode, I have heard the first two episodes of Classic Buffalo, and I had no idea what the podcast was about. Then you asked me, and immediately I went to go listen to it, and it was like, holy crap, like I've been going through some of this stuff. So like this is, it's just kind of, you know, one of those like weird moments where, you know, a door opens and you're like, wow, this is really cool. So
thanks, man. That means a lot.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, we're gonna stay in touch, and we're gonna hang out when you get back to Indy if you ever do.
Yeah, I'm usually back at least once every 2 months or so. So I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell what happens. So.
All right, man. Well, I'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
See you, buddy. Hey everybody, this is Ryan from the Classic Buffalo podcast. Wanted to take a second to talk about Anchor, how I'm actually making this podcast happen. Super happy that I'm partnering with them. So, Anchor is actually the easiest way to make a podcast. I've done my research. This is basically the best way. I promise. It's going to give you everything you need in one place for free, which is the best part. It's going to have tools, so you don't really need a fancy schmancy recording guy. Anchor's going to be helping you out there, and then they're going to distribute the podcast everywhere to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, everything. And then you can also make money with basically no minimum listenership, which is kind of rare. So hop on Anchor as soon as you can. Thanks. We just got done. Man, that was kind of a hard episode to record just because Kyle's connection kept going out, all that kind of stuff. He was like recording in a basement. And but anyway, we got it done. And it was a little weird just kind of reconnecting with him because I haven't talked with him in a while. And we grew up together kind of a little bit, middle school and high school. And we were in the same circles for a while. And, you know, I just didn't know what to expect, and it was kind of cool for Kyle to be supporting me because when he was mentioning, I've been struggling with some of the stuff that you've been talking about recently, so that was kind of cool to see kind of how music has impacted his life and how Robert actually has impacted his life as well, which is really cool to see how one person can have such a profound impact on one person's life, you know, several years down the road with just one comment and vice versa for them supporting each other. You know, I've always been hearing about CBD stuff, and I've just been curious myself to see if I can go try it. I'm thinking about it, but my brother's tried it, and then now Kyle's tried it. He's another person I know. There's a couple other people that like acquaintances, as I'm using quotes, that have tried it, but I haven't really heard anything bad. So I might kind of check it out sometime, but it's good that if the natural way works for you, then you should go for it or try it out. And I think Kyle had a good point of like, well, if it doesn't work out, I just spent $10 to find out that this possible thing that could help me isn't going to work, and that's okay. So I think it was cool to hear him preach about staying on the boat. I think that'll be the title of the episode for sure. Really pushing through it and trusting that as a whole there's a bigger boat, and that there is that there can be some form of a plan, even if you aren't religious, that there's the good that can come out of some things, that there can be joy out of the rough seas, that push forward, don't jump off, keep going, stay on the boat, stay on the boat, stay on the boat. That's like one of those things you got to get tattooed on your arm or something like that so you can look at it every morning. I think that'd be a good idea, honestly. I think for someone who's moved around a lot, you can kind of tell Kyle's been through some stuff. And then I also kind of know previous stuff we didn't really talk about, but just Kyle's had relationship troubles in the past, and you can also tell that he's kind of gotten out of them. He's gotten out of it, and with another person now, including myself, with music having such an impact on someone's life and knowing that can also be such a positive thing for somebody, it's really cool to connect over that, like lyrics and feeling the bass. There's, for me, like playing on a piano is so much different, like when you're playing on the keys versus like on the electronic keyboard. There's just that feeling, that texture, the umami, if you will, of the meaty texture of sound of being at a live concert. I think doing the little things, saying something that could impact somebody, and just being genuine and being honest and raw with somebody, not just say some like throwaway half-ass compliment. Brr, brr, brr. Yeah, I think that can really go far. I remember there was a kid at my basketball camp. I'll tell this story. There's a kid at my basketball camp, and he was my best player. And they took him out of my league because he was so good and moved him into the other league. So after the first game, and we had like a couple week season, he was already off my team, but I would still see him around, and he called me coach. And I remember there was like kind of a rally cry that we would do, like we were taking attendance for what teams would show up, like team blah blah blah, and they all go blah, and then like team da da da, and then we go yeah, and then they did my team, and like nobody cheered except for this one kid, and it was like kind of like you could tell he was on board, and he was like kind of the positive kid. And I just straight up went to him, and he's not on my team anymore, and I just said, I don't care who you end up becoming, but like, you're probably going to be good at basketball, but you're going to be even better at life. And I remember like seeing it in his eyes, knowing it in the deepest heart of my mind that I needed to tell this kid that he was going to be successful in life just because he's a solid person. He is a good kid. He has the positive vibes. He wants other people to feel happy and feel welcome, and he's a team player. I don't know. There's just something like deep in the soul and core that it was like, go tell that kid that he's going to be successful. I mean, he's tall and he's athletic, so he's going to play high school basketball, and he's going to be successful at basketball, but like, I don't know, something was telling me like, pour into the youth. And, for me, I remember my coach, Julian, which I'm writing about in my book, kind of. But Julian was the dad of my friend who would coach us for soccer and baseball. And every single year, like, everybody loved playing for the dude because we would always get like treats if we played well, or always doing the orange slices at halftime type of guy. But then like at the end of the season, he would do like award shows, and he'd do like this 2 or 3 minute speech on, and then like he would wait until the very end of his sentences to like announce who he was talking about. And like everyone was like, oh, who's he talking about? Oh, he's talking about, and he'd be saying all these positive stuff that he likes about him and stuff. He's like the number one example of why he made me wanting to go into coaching in the times that I have, and to pour into the youth. I mean, I'm going to remember that guy for the rest of my life. And not only is one of my favorite football players Julian, but also my favorite coach of my entire life is Julian. So I'll probably name my kid Julian. But my point is something, a little comment. We remember those things, especially when it's genuine. And I think that's kind of cool. And an important step to do for this week is to be genuine with somebody and to encourage them. And Robert, if you're listening, I hope you enjoyed the compliment from Kyle, and know it was genuine. And so enjoy that. And thanks so much for tuning in this week. If you want to share your story, please DM me on Instagram at Classic Buffalo. I love hearing from you guys. If you're new or you're old, if you want to talk about something deep or shallow, let's go swimming. Let's talk about it. Let's shoot the shit. Let's shoot the breeze. I'm here for you. I love you. I'm your number one supporter. It's me, Ryan, signing out.